Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. It is a Wednesday, the start of Lent, Ash Wednesday actually, and we're now venturing off into our second segment for the morning. As a matter of fact, we've got in with us alumni or students of the University of Belize as we're about to venture off into their student government on youth engagement. Now in with us, we've got Aleesi Chun. She is the president of UB Student Government. We've got Sydellie Leslie. She's a senator. She is a senator of UB Student Government. And well, no stranger to us, Abbie Godoy. She is the secretary, UB Student Government. Ladies, good morning, and it's so nice to have you in.
Hi, good morning. Nice to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Can I just say this is what a government looks like with women? Can we just start there?
And you should have heard the conversation off here a while ago. Excellent, strong, and this is the reason why I'm so excited about this segment. Look, we know that there are things hovering over the entire country. Things are happening here, there, and everywhere. But for the most part, everybody is engaged, especially with this UB situation, because students are standing up for what they believe. Let's get down to how we got to this situation with the walkout, and then we move on. Let's talk about that. Pick it up, Madam President. You want to pick it up?
Okay. So, good morning once again. Thank you for having us here. So initially, they started on the Thursday morning. Thursday? Yeah, on Thursday morning. We were receiving several complaints from students and concerns. Then, you know, they wanted to see clarification and whether or not we were going to have regular school day or not. And this then led us to say, you know, well, we should, as you rightly pointed out, we see rampant corruption plaguing the country. It's literally the news headline for the past week. And so my members and I, we threw out the idea of having a walkout to show basically the country and the nation that we are here, we are aware of the going-ons in our country. And as students, we should be concerned of our future. And so we all decided that this was how we were going to make an impact. And we quickly organized the bus. We rounded up students and we en route to Belize City.
So the discrepancy that the university is saying is that the non-school day that was issued did not apply to the University of Belize. Going to school that day, did you have an intention to participate in the protest? Or was it more so kind of you got a little bothered when you realized that the university wasn't going to acknowledge the day?
On an individual level, I was supposed to attend, but I overslept. And then the messages started to come in, and I think one of these two can explain what happened after that.
You wanna go ahead? Okay, so let me go ahead by starting and saying, on the day off, you know, previously there was a memorandum released. When this was released, there was definitely no, you know, usually we receive updates through marketing emails. There was no marketing email stating whether we would or wouldn't be having classes. It was just a given that we would. So, you know, that was a thing. There was a message sent after the fact, actually. So after we had gone to the protest and come back, then there was a marketing email saying that we still had classes. So, you know, that played a part. But I'm not saying that they were obliged to give us the day off, because they weren't. You know, they were probably, I believe, in a meeting with the trustees deciding whether they should or shouldn't, and then they decided not to. And we did not do this to be rebellious against the institution. We had no intentions of offending this institution. All we wanted to do was exercise our right as Belizeans, because, you know, as young academics, we do see a need for change within, you know, the system that is currently in place, and we really felt like it sends a strong young people go out to events like this that is, you know, to improve the country and to, you know, make a statement against the things that are happening. We are noticing these things, and, you know, we are here, like, our president just said.
Were you guys cognizant that the non-school day didn't apply to UB, or you guys didn't know?
I think for us, it was very much that when we read the memorandum, it said any tertiary aided schools. So for us, it was a little confusing because we're like, I'm pretty sure we're aided, and I'm pretty sure we're a tertiary school. So why aren't we being allowed or encouraged to go? And I think that's where we feel strongly, is by not commenting, the university wasn't telling you it's okay to go. Nothing will happen to you if you go. And I personally, on the day of, had debated it all night in the morning because I'd missed the Tuesday. And for us, Tuesdays and Thursdays have the same schedule. So I was like, oh, but if I already missed Tuesday, then I'll miss Thursday. That's a week's worth of classes. But lucky for me, I got an email from one of my teachers in the morning, and they're like, hey guys, so we're not going to be in class today, so you guys can go ahead and join the protest.
That was going to be my question, because that does happen in institutions. There's kind of like the management perspective, but sometimes some teachers understand. And that's what I want to ask, because we can't underscore how critical it is for our young, educated minds to be in tune with what's going on. I mean, you guys, it's like not even long-term future. You're talking 5 years, you're going to be in this working world. Your taxes are going to be going to the very same things that people are fighting against right now. And trust me, when you start to see that coming out of your paycheck, you'll understand. But it's so important that that level of participation in this as citizens of this country is fostered. Do you find that to be the environment that you're in within the classrooms or in the larger institutions?
I think that it depends on what program you're in. And because, like, for example, I'm in the Faculty of Education and Arts, and all of my teachers very much encourage you to participate in civil matters, and they're very understanding. I can also say that from the list of people who went to the protest, because we made sure to check up and say, did you guys have any issues? You guys can come to us. No one responded that they had any issues. But I know that for some people, for example, in the nursing faculty, they're like, oh, you guys have practicals today, you guys can't miss it because we're not doing this over. Which I think is a little unfair, because they're equally just as much a part of this country as us. And I think that teachers should be accommodating, because we didn't go protest for ourselves. We went protesting for everyone.
And I just wanted to mention, because I know there's this stigma that, oh, you know, if we give them the day off, they won't go. They're gonna stay home and they're just gonna be lazy and they're not, so why give them the day off? But you know, when you make decisions like that, you have no data to back that up. You don't know what we were going to do. Perhaps there would have been some students that would not have shown up, but I am sure, and I know a few of them, quite a few, that were very adamant about going and about, you know, speaking out and about, you know, being a part of this. And my teachers were very supportive, very supported, and I'm so happy.
What program are you in?
I'm in the business program, the business faculty, yes.
How many students took part?
And for you, what program are you in?
I am in the bachelor's program for the history. And my teachers are very much understanding. We always have debates about the going-ons in the country. So, and they're very progressive. So they've always supported us, and anytime when we have events, like for this event that we're planning for International Women's Day, they're actually the backbone of all the behind-the-scenes work. So yes, they do support us.
People tend to be very dismissive of our young people in this country, and they think that you are out of touch with what's going on because we don't see you as much. And I know that you participating in this protest, you saw the reaction. They called you up on stage because we know how important it is for you to be involved. And the National Student Union, which is a separate entity, was also there as well. So I want to be clear about that, because you guys are the University of Belize's student government, and there's a national student union that represents many different tertiary schools.
Exactly.
So, they've been used synonymously. And people have assumed that one is the same as the other, but they're not. But how do you respond when somebody says, you know, you people don't, I've been speaking about your particular interview a bit, because I think you said something so critical about what is currently happening in the country, that we don't necessarily foster the type of conversations and the type of education that will help you feel okay getting up and participating in a protest or saying, I agree or disagree with something.
You know, and as I mentioned before, you know, our government is the biggest employer in the country. That plays a part. What are we doing to, you know, encourage entrepreneurship. You know, I just took a look at, you know, the SIB statistics today. You know, we've had a decline in real GDP twice. You know, the fourth quarter doesn't look like it's being good. We have a drought. We are so dependent on our agricultural and our tourism sector, but what are we doing to foster entrepreneurship to, you know, level out the economy?
Excellent.
What do we have? What are we leaving for our young people? You know, they can be dismissive because there's all these factors that play into that, and there's the education system that plays into that. You know, what am I learning that really, you know, helps me, you know, make an informed decision when electing a government official? Yeah. What do I know about what they do? What do I know about the process? Yes, we have social studies, but really, all we learn is, you know, the cabinet is here. These are the names of the members of the cabinet. That's it. We need to, you know, the education system really needs to grow so that we can grow. Because if I can sit here and tell you all I know, but I can't represent everybody else because I know a lot of people that don't know, and that's a problem.
Yeah. And they have to build the connections. I mean, I got to be honest. What you tell me about the nursing students, it concerns me just because the nurses will enter into a healthcare system that has its own problems. And you know who makes those decisions? The people who are our policymakers today. There's a nursing shortage. The Nurses Association have had their own. So sometimes we see things like very segmented. So I may be in education. You can probably identify with the teachers. But if I'm studying health, then I think of, okay, I'm just going to take care of my corner. But it's the bigger picture. Now I want to move into what's happening at this time. So we're told that the university is asking for those who went out to protest for an apology.
What are your stance?
We were just talking about this, and I was telling Sid that I was at the forefront of the protest, and I haven't received anything in writing. No one's called me and asked for an apology. I've heard absolutely nothing. All I know is that Friday we have a sit down with the president, a meeting, and I think that it's more of a conversation. And if there are any kind of repercussions, reprimands, if there's an ask for an apology, I think we would be more than happy to come forward and say, well, we don't want to apologize because we don't regret our actions. Our actions are very much within our rights.
But you haven't heard, Madam President, have you heard of any, have you been reached out to give an apology?
Any reaction?
To give an apology?
Yeah.
No, I was never formally contacted or presented anything in a letter format requesting for an apology. So I believe it was just one big miscommunication.
So it's all hearsay, is that what we're saying?
As far as we know, maybe
we are concerned, yes.
Yeah, maybe the unions may have gotten some backlash, but we personally and our, you know, team that went out that day, you know, as we said, we emailed all the students. I made sure I emailed every single one of them and said, you know, if you are having any issue, please email me your name, your lecture, and what you missed, and then we can see if we can work something out. I did not receive any answers from any of the students because we got their information before we got them on that bus because they were our responsibility that day.
And then we also had a meeting with our Dean of Student Affairs on Friday,
yes, we did.
Where we discussed possibly working with the university the next time around. Because I guess it does ruffle some feathers when students just decide, okay, well, I'm going to leave campus and go and do my own thing. So we definitely talked about how we could better execute. But we also have pretty much maintained we were going to do it and you couldn't stop us.
What happens if you are, because there were classes on that day.
Yes.
And what happens if you're not given the ability to make up, or is that in the pipeline? Will that work? Will that happen?
So that is going to be in the discussion on Friday. However, the only way we would ask for some kind of compromise or some kind of means to an end for those students would have to be if they come forward and say, you know, I actually missed an assessment and I need your help here. And if that can't be resolved on a student lecture level, then we'd have to move that up to the president level. So as of this morning, we checked the emails again and we did not receive any kind of complaints from students. So I think most of all, yeah.
So from your participation in the protest, what resonated with you the most? What's the message that you walked away? I mean, do you feel inspired to be more active? Do you feel that participating in one protest is enough? What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, we've done our own level of activism on a community level, all three of us here. And we do not intend to stop. we continue to try to inspire other people and try to incorporate others. But what resonated with me was the reaction of the nation, where everybody basically gave positive feedbacks, continued to encourage us, supported us, and actually, I think it was a breath of fresh air to see young people coming out and actually, it's like, hey, we're here, type of thing. So
we actually got there pretty late. But I think we've always, as she's mentioned, we've always been a part of the community. And for me, going out there, it was really about showing other people, because I'm leaving soon. So I want to replace me with 4 other people who, when these girls ask for support, will be there. What resonated was just, and this is a bad thing to resonate with me, but I saw it on social media how young people attacked this group so much. They were making fun of it, they were joking, and I was like, okay, I don't want to put blame on young people. I don't want to say, oh, they're this way because of this, and this. But what resonated with me was, I want to make a resolution. What makes people react this way? What has our young people this way? And so what resonated with me was just, how can we help to fix that?
How much more work there is.
How much work do we need to do? And I guess it begins with us at the tertiary level. We're always being called the privileged that gets to go to a tertiary level. And I think that's true, because we have the knowledge that it takes to understand these mechanisms that are at play. We know that we have rights, but for a lot of people who don't have the opportunity, they're intimidated by anything. Oh, my representative in this area said if I go out, I won't get the little money that I need to feed my kids. And you can't blame people for that, because that's their reality. But how can we help those people who aren't getting into the classroom learn what they need to learn?
You know, I'm just, sure.
Oh, sorry. You can go ahead. Well, for me, sorry. What resonated with me, the BNTU is a force to be reckoned with. We saw it with them. They're just such an inspiration. And it goes back to them, because without them having that, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be there. So really, a shout out to them for, just keep doing what they do, and just, inspiring us as young people, because teachers have such a huge impact on your life.
Of course.
Yes.
Right, and I'm so lucky that my mom's a teacher. So I grew up with my little green shirt, my umbrella. My mom was like, protest? Okay, you're not going to school today.
Because there's so much to be learned when you participate, more so than what you can learn in a classroom. That's my belief.
I agree.
And I want to go back to something, because you said the university is talking to you about perhaps doing participation on what is maybe a more polite manner, or they're informed. You're a history major. I think if you look back in Belize's history, and if you look back in what's going on across the world, when the young people stand up, that's when we see change. When you see, and I'm talking, let's go Mexico, when those university students have a change in tuition of this much, they sit in the major highways and shut the city down. When you're talking about other parts of the world where university students come out and they don't worry about feathers that will be ruffled, they don't worry about what potential consequences will come, because they know the consequences that will come if they don't do anything. And I think that's kind of the inspiration that people want from you. It's a lot to place on your shoulders, don't get me wrong. We, the adults, shouldn't have messed it up or allowed it to get this messed up anyway. But that's why we have all this hope. And that's why when you step out, even if it was just 25 people, that's what inspired that group of adults that were there. And I think you can't lose sight of that message. So yes, some people might get upset. Sometimes there are consequences. If your mom has protested before, or any teacher would know, when they face what would have been that pay cut for that 11-day standoff. I mean, some teachers were facing a possibility of going home with no salary. If that had panned out. But that's part of the sacrifice that you make for your country. When you look at what's happening, and it's not political, it's about talking about, it's not partisan politics.
Yes.
Yep.
It's about how our country is governed. What concerns you the most right now? What are you seeing in this country that makes that you just want and need to demand a change right now?
I think the entire political climate, if I can go off first, because you know that the U.S. right now is currently going through their finding the Democratic candidate and all the intellectual debates. For me, what I would appreciate and I would want to change and see here in this country would be a more constructive discussions about healthcare, about education, about welfare programs. These things are what we need to hear. We don't need to hear any more of the baggage of these politicians.
You did this and you did that.
And that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think once we start to see that kind of shift in the political parties, I think people will be, because we are opinionated. Young people are opinionated, but we aren't given a platform to express. And even if we express our opinions, sometimes, like Abbie said, we are being ridiculed because, why are you going to put yourself out there? Who are you? And, sometimes you expect your young people to back you up, but rather they kind of deteriorate you. But honestly, that's what I would want to see, a change in politics here in Belize, to have more intellectual discussions, include young people, include the marginalized groups, like this entire equal opportunities bill. When is it going to come to the National University? When are we going to have a talk about it? That is our future. That is our concern. Has anybody reached out? Things like that.
Valid point, and I hope they heard that this morning.
Yeah, they're hearing it.
Yes. Well, like I was mentioning, to me, it's just the state of the system that we live in. Because yes, we can say, and we have to look at these people's perspective that ridicule us. We really do, because, we have to understand where they're coming from. These are children of public servants. These are children of people who have been in this oppressive system for so long that it becomes embedded in our culture to just give up. And this fight against unity, and it's education, it's everything. It's like I said, our economy, what are we doing to encourage young entrepreneurship? Are we investing in our young people so that they can have, the power to stand on their own without government, heavily influenced government assistance? And I said, it doesn't matter which party is in power, it could be UDP, PUP, NDP, whatever. It doesn't matter. We have to start voting for the people rather than the party. And until that happens, until we literally critically evaluate a minister and saying, I'm going to vote for him because this and this and this, and I want him to do
because of the policies.
In the policies. Exactly. And I feel like in all programs we should learn about policies and how they're passed and how they affect us and our fields and our country, because we live here.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing I really want to see as a change. Just educate our people and help us. Help us help ourselves.
I have to agree with what they're saying. I think for me, it has to come down to campaign strategy. We as a people kind of encourage and allow our politicians to play the blame game and the back and forth because we're not demanding for them to present plans. I want to see budgets. I want to see what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? I shouldn't have to clap my hands because you got roads built. Roads would be built either way, and that's your job. I want to see.
Say that again to me.
Right. And then a lot of people don't realize that under all of these road constructions, there's these little plaques that tell you where the money's coming from. It's not borrowed, sold, right? It's not solely governmental, right? Yeah. So I think that that's what needs to change. So when I see people in debates, and I compare it to other countries in political debates, they play oh, your dad did this. And that's one thing that I also kind of don't agree with, is that our entire party systems are made up of people who know each other, who come from these elite families. And if you don't come from an elite family, then you're voted in by the people, and soon you're intermixed with the elite families, and then there's just a whole connection. and party across parties. They hang out with each other. And Belizeans go and just murder themselves during election time because, oh, I'm red and you're blue.
Yeah.
So to
The
me,
supporters fight.
the supporters, they don't.
They don't fight with
But
each other.
that's what I would want to see is I want to see, okay, my area representative wants my vote. What are you doing for my area? What's your working plan? Where are you going to fund it?
Yeah.
I don't care about, oh, who stole money. You both stole money. And that's facts. We just don't ever go through it.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to own up to dirty laundry. But also no one's moving past it and moving forward. They're just saying change is coming.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna ask, because your perspective, I think, is one that a lot of people feel. You know, we're tired of the blame game.
Yeah.
Well, what does the blame game give us? We'll always be able to pull skeletons out of the closets for everybody.
Yeah.
But where do you see this shift? Are you guys registered to vote?
Yes.
Okay. Do you intend to vote this year?
Yes.
You
I
guys
don't
practice that
think
a
I
lot, yeah.
can.
You practice
You
that
may
a
not
lot,
be
yeah.
I
here.
may not be here.
Okay.
So,
But
you know,
for the most part, you intend to vote.
Yes.
Is this something that you're seeing widespread across your university
Yeah.
right now?
Okay, so when we were in the history club prior to entering office as student government, this was the time of the ICJ referendum. We did a campus, gathering people from different areas of the
campus
campuses.
registration.
We went to classes, we got people's names, and we invited the elections and boundaries department to the university, and they worked with us in a small office, and we tried to make the process relatively easy for students so they don't have an excuse. We tried to communicate with them in every way possible, and we do this because we realize that it has to start at the university level. This is where we need to have more debates, more forums, more colloquiums. All of these things need to come out from here. Civic pride is built, but you need to not only say, oh, well, I'm a Belizean. You need to actually, be a Belizean, but practice the responsibilities that comes with being a Belizean. And so,
Do you think sometimes that you're a victim of your generation in the fact, let me qualify it, that you're the social media era, and so sometimes you get momentum building. Everybody's sharing a post, really, it got lots of likes or lots of views or lots of support, but it stops there. And people feel empowered. Maybe I changed my profile photo, I'm with you. But that's not the level of it's a level of participation. I'm not diminishing it. It can be a start. But it requires action after the click.
Okay, so from my experience, I started the FFF, which is Fridays for Future here in Belize. At my first protest, I had 2 people. And so it was just me and 2 other people at the Assembly building with our little posters. And after I made that post, I went on a whole little rant about how young people are really letting me down and shaming me, and I just got really upset. And so that got a lot of likes, and it got a lot of views, and a lot of people commented. And my follow-up protest had like 50 people, and we had people from different universities, which isn't a huge number, but compared to 3 people, it's a big jump.
It is, of course.
Yeah.
But then, and I guess it probably is that they go to the protest and then nothing happens. We don't realize that going to a protest doesn't mean instant change.
That's right.
And so momentum starts to lose. And so I don't know how we can keep each other engaged other than saying, hey, you're my friend and you went to my protest, you should come again. So I think that's just kind of how it's going to have to go. We're going to have to go hand-holding each other until we get to the point where when we say, oh, you know what, we're young people and we're done with this. Because like you said earlier, it would be nice if I could get 35 solid people that no matter what the consequence is,
They're there.
will sit on the road with me. But if it's just me and Sid, someone's going to run us over.
And I'm glad she mentioned that because, yes, when you protest, it's a statement, but if we can incorporate actual demands in our protest, that can then become so effective because then we can come together as a group and say, this is what we need to see change, and we can incorporate that knowledge into our protest, and then, then they're like, this is what they want.
Yeah.
You know
well,
what
the teachers did it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
NTC did it.
Yeah.
So what's your demand? I want to hear it.
Our demand.
From all
What's
of
your
them, yes.
demand? Yeah.
From the government?
I'm giving you a platform. What's your demand? You
And this
said
is like
young
one of the
people
most
don't
loudest
have a
voice.
platform.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a lot.
All right, let's hear
What would
it.
be
What
some
are
of the
your
first ones that
demands?
you'd like right now?
Why is everybody looking at me? Start down the line.
Come on, that's not like
Stand up and
We're
say
trying
if
to
you
prioritize.
All right, let's
This
go,
is
Ms.
your
Madam
country
President.
too.
Yes, the first thing you'd like to see, the first things.
Well, the first thing that the unions want, we need to see where you're getting your campaign funds from. We need to see transparency. I think ultimately that's what we need to see. We need to see legislation reforms. But before that, tuition affordability. I think fundamentally that's what we need. Because again, we are the privileged percentage of the population that comes to a university. And though the national university states that they're relatively affordable,
Is it?
well, I don't know. I don't
know people who still can't afford
for
it.
most people, it's out of their pockets, it's out of their range. And I feel, I'm not saying free education, but, try decrease the cost of tuition, because once you decrease the cost of tuition, you get more influx of students, you get more influx of young people. This is where we can start opening our eyes. This is where we can start listening to constructive opinions. This is where we can start respecting each other. And then we look beyond that and look at what our government is doing. And then from there we can say, okay, these are the things that we want from the government. From the government, I want what the unions are asking for, campaign legislation.
Campaign
for
financing
yes.
legislation. All right.
What do you demand?
Yes.
Oof. Oh, so many. So many demands. Well, like, as I said, I think, because like I said, we're three people, we're on the news right now, a lot of people are gonna hear this, but I want everyone that's watching to understand what we're saying, and I think the only way that can be done is revising the curriculums, perhaps in social studies classes, to include information regarding how policies are passed, how the government actually works, what are the processes. This is something I believe is just as important as math and English.
Yeah.
And I think it should be mandatory, and I really want to see that added to the curriculum, and not just a little. I want to see a lot. I want to see people that are empowered by knowledge and people that can request more than $50. You know what I mean? I don't want this. I want my country to be better. So that would be my main demand for now, and also encouraging entrepreneurship and freedom from the government being the biggest employer. I want to see that in my country. Those are my demands.
Abbie.
All right. So I think everybody kind of covered what I felt, but yeah, I think that we need to focus on education, because in Belize it's treated like a commodity. If you can go beyond high school, ooh, you're really doing something right.
Yeah.
I'd want to demand from my government, if I could make any demand, is just transparency. And I just don't want things to, I think that the mechanisms in place to have a good governance, they're there. They're not enforced. And that's my issue. For me, I'd want to have this body that is of its own, separate from the government, cannot be bought, repercussed by them, who just walks into ministries and says, from the first level, how is this person at front desk treating me? Why are they so upset? What's making their life hard? And then you move up. And then I think that's just the best way to fix it. Because sometimes having entire reforms and bills being passed, it takes time, and the process continues to be bad until it reaches a point where it won't have to be bad. But then you still have to go and put that into work and put that into the whole transitional phase. So for me is just work on the systems that we already have and make them better. And I think if you just make the way ministries work better, you can fix all the problems, because then if I have a complaint, I will know exactly what process I can go through. And that's where education comes in. We're not taught how we can make bills happen. We're not taught how we could ask that our voices will be heard. We're taught, okay, come out and somebody will represent you, and they'll bring out what you want. But it's very simple for me. It's once I learn that I can demand my own thing, I can do anything. And once I say, well, the system says you have to be transparent, I don't have to push it. It's right there. You just need somebody to tell you, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
it is
if you
for me.
break that rule, then
There's
we
a
tell
consequence.
You didn't follow the process.
And there should be consequences. I think that's one of the worst things here in this country is that we don't enforce that, oh, if you do one thing wrong, there's a consequence to it. We don't do that here. And we've seen this happening all the time where people go and do whatever they want and then they get and nothing happens.
Finally for me, because we know time is not on our side, producer de Comine. Finally for me, while you guys feel like this, there are so many other students who feel just like you as well, but they're so aware of political victimization. And this is because of party politics. How do we, you guys right here, strong voices, and I'm so happy about this. How do we continue to drive it within the UB, within the students of UB? How do we drive this force? Because this is a force. That is passion. How do we continue to drive this passion for UB? You're about to leave. You're about to leave shortly. But how do we continue to drive this force?
I think for me, it's a lot of validation.
Yeah.
The second that you sit with someone and you tell them, I hear what you're saying and I understand and I'm gonna help you, you're validating someone's feelings. Even if you can't fix that problem, but you hear them out and you try to fix that problem, then they feel encouraged because they say, oh, well, you know what, my words got me somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's all you ever need.
Okay. Well, we hope we don't stop hearing from you. And we want you to go to class and finish up what you have to do. But don't ever feel that you can't or shouldn't use your voice. And we appreciate you coming in and talking to us about your own motives and your own plans and what you want for this country. Because you're not like long-term future members of society. You are members today and you'll be contributing members in a very near future. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you for having us.
For validating us.
For
validating our cause.
We are going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the Street Art Festival. So please stay tuned.